The sky above the quiet moon was a soft shade of purple. Two suns were rising at the edge of the horizon, casting long shadows over the cracked gray ground. A crowd of alien diplomats, soldiers, and AI observers stood silently in a large circle. They were here to witness a duel, one that might decide the fate of an entire peace agreement. In the center stood Captain Mira Tain, human in a sleek white and blue uniform. She wasn't very tall, and she didn't carry a sword or any heavy weapon. She only had a slim stun rod on her hip and a small device on her wrist. Her brown eyes were calm, and her short black hair moved slightly in the cool breeze. Across from her was Commander Archon of the Fifth Flame, a warrior of the Ilvari Empire. He was nearly 7 feet tall, with silver scales covering his body. His eyes glowed orange, and 2 small horns curled from his forehead. His armor was dark red with golden edges, and he held a ceremonial spear. His people believed in strength. Their culture, if someone lost in battle, they had no right to speak, might decided everything. The duel had been requested by RCN. Himself, Mira had only accepted it to save the peace talks. If she won, the Ilvari would return to the negotiation table. If she lost, humanity's efforts for alliance would be broken. As the signal flared in the sky, the duel began. Archon charged forward with powerful steps, his spear shining in the morning light. He moved fast for someone so large. The crowd gasped. Mira, however, stepped aside quickly and calmly. She didn't try to fight head-on. Instead, she used the moon's low gravity. Every step she took sent her sliding smoothly across the surface. Her eyes watched every move Archon made. "You run?" Archon growled, voice deep and sharp. "Do you fear me, human?" "No," Mira said softly. "I just don't believe strength only comes from fighting." Archon struck again, his spear slicing through the air. Mira ducked, letting the blade pass above her. She tapped a button on her wrist device. A small force field flared as she moved, creating a flash of light that distracted the warrior. Archon blinked, confused. Mira took the chance to slide behind him and tap his armor with her stun rod. It gave off a quiet spark, not enough to hurt, just enough to register a touch. According to the rules of the duel, 3 successful touches would count as a win. 1. Mira said, stepping back quickly. The Ilvari commander turned, surprised. This was not how battles usually went. Still, he roared and came at her again, swinging in a wide arc. Mira rolled to the side, her movements light and quick. As Archon slowed for a breath, Mira dashed forward and tapped his side. 2. Now the crowd murmured. Archon's pride was being tested. He changed his stance, narrowed his eyes, and slowed his movements. This time he waited. Mira smiled. She knew he was learning, trying to think more like her. What's good, but she had already seen his weakness. Archon stepped forward carefully, testing her reflexes. Mira kept her distance. Then, suddenly, she jumped higher than before, flipping in the air and landing right behind him. Before he could react, she tapped the back of his neck with the rod. 3, she said. Archon froze. The duel was over. The crowd went silent for a moment. Then the human side cheered, and even a few Ilvari clapped slowly in respect. Mira had not used strength, but she had still won by skill, by planning, by clever thinking. Archon knelt on one knee, placing his spear on the ground before her. His chest rose and fell slowly. He did not look up at her. This was the Ilvari way of surrender. Then, in a quiet and serious voice, he said, "Please don't kill me, human. I'll warm your bed if I must." Mira blinked. The cheering stopped. Everyone nearby turned to look. "What?" she asked, blinking again. "I offer my life to you," Archon said, still looking down. "As is custom, you have defeated me. I am yours." Mira looked around. The translator device had clearly chosen some strange words. Her assistant, a tall android named Vex9, stepped forward and whispered, "Captain." I believe his phrase is a traditional Ilvari idiom. It means "I will serve you loyally in all things," but the literal translation is a bit more personal. Mira coughed and looked at Archon, who still hadn't moved. "Commander," she said carefully, You don't have to. Warm anyone's. Anything. You fought with honor, and you're not my prisoner. Archon finally looked up confused. You do not wish to claim me? I wish to share peace, not take trophies, Mira replied with a calm smile. If you're willing. Maybe you can still help us build it. For a moment, the Ylvari commander looked unsure. Then slowly, he nodded. He stood tall once again, taller than anyone else around, and looked at the crowd. I will follow this human, he said. She has defeated me, not with brute power, but with something greater. I do not yet understand it, but I will learn. With that, the two of them walked side by side back toward the waiting ships, a human who fought with her mind, and an alien warrior who had just learned that strength was not the only way to win. The starship Harmony's Edge moved quietly through space, its smooth silver hull reflecting light from a distant sun. Inside, the atmosphere was peaceful, with soft lights and calm music playing in the background. The duel on the moon was over. Captain Myratane had returned with an unexpected guest, Commander Arcan, of the Fifth Flame. The Ylvari warrior sat stiffly in the debriefing room. He was not used to chairs or small spaces. Myra had given him a seat, but he preferred to stand, tall and proud, his arms crossed behind his back. His red and gold armor still showed scratches from the duel, but he wore it like a badge of honor. Mira sat across the room, sipping tea from a white cup. She watched Archon with curiosity. The translator error from earlier still echoed in her. Mind, please don't kill me, human. I'll warm your bed if I must. She shook her head, a small smile on her lips. So, Commander, about that line you said after the duel? Archon blinked slowly. It was a surrender phrase. You spared me. I gave my loyalty. Right. But in our language, that sounded very different. At that moment, Vexenine entered the room. The tall android moved smoothly, holding a tablet. Captain, I have completed the translation analysis. The phrase used by Commander Archon is indeed a common idiom in the Ylvari warrior caste. It means I will serve you in all ways, even to personal discomfort. Myra raised an eyebrow. And the bed-warming part? Nine replied. Literal translation. Some ancient Ylvari viewed loyal service as a form of closeness, like sharing warmth in winter. It is symbolic, not romantic. Myra looked at Archon. So you weren't trying to flirt? Khan tilted his head. I was defeated. You showed mercy. I offered my service. Is that not custom here? Mira laughed gently. No, not really. Humans don't usually say things like that after a fight. But I appreciate the meaning behind it. Archon nodded. Slowly understanding? Human ways are strange. And Ylvari ways are dramatic. Mira replied with a smirk. They both shared a small moment of silence. Not awkward, but thoughtful. Commander, Mira said, setting her cup down, the peace talks are still fragile. But your presence here might help. You wish to show me as a trophy? He asked, voice firm but not angry. Not a trophy, a symbol. You are respected by your people. If they see you working with us, maybe they'll trust us more. Archon thought for a moment. I will assist, not as a servant. But as a warrior who seeks understanding, Mira smiled. Deal. Later that day, the crew of the Harmony's Edge was surprised to see a giant Ylvari walking the halls calmly beside their captain. Some stared, others stepped back respectfully. Archon noticed the looks but said nothing. He walked tall, silent and strong, his armor gleaming under the light. At the cafeteria, Mira invited him to sit and eat. The food was not what he expected. No roasted beasts or glowing root meats, only protein cubes, rice, and green vegetables. Archon sniffed the food, then took a bite. He chewed slowly. This is acceptable. Myra chuckled. It's not a feast, but it's healthy. As they ate, a young crew member named Jonas walked over with a tray. He looked nervous but curious. Captain, is this the guy from the duel? Mira nodded. Commander Archon of the Fifth Flame. Looked up at the towering alien. You're a lot bigger in person. Archon stared at him. You are very soft-looking. Jonas blinked. Thanks. It is not an insult, Archon said. You look ... comfortable, well-fed. You do not fear battle. Mira coughed to hide her laugh. Jonas nodded slowly, then quickly returned to his table. Archon leaned toward Mira. Did I offend? Maybe a little. Don't worry. He'll survive. In the briefing room that night, a meeting was held with the ship's top officers. Holograms floated in the air showing maps of neutral zones, Ilvari patrol paths, and locations of upcoming peace talks. Mira stood at the front, with Archon standing beside her. She began. Our next destination is Zeta Station 3. The Ilvari ambassador will be there. If Archon comes with us, it will show that we want peace. One officer raised a hand. Can we trust him? He's a warrior, not a diplomat. Archon answered before Mira could. I do not speak sweet words, but I speak truth. I lost in battle, and yet I was treated with respect. If peace means fighting no more, I will support it. The room fell silent. Mira looked around. Any more questions? None that night in the guest quarters. Archon stood in his assigned room. It was quiet and clean, but strange to him. There were no fire pits, no banners, no training grounds. It's just soft light and a warm bed. He walked over and gently touched the pillow. He remembered his words from earlier. I'll warm your bed. He frowned. Humans truly had strange ways. Still, he respected Mira now, not because she had defeated him, but because she had done it with a different kind of power. Cleverness, grace, mercy. He sat down, thinking about the days ahead, in the captain's log. Mira recorded her thoughts in her digital journal. Day 1 with Commander Archon aboard. No injuries, no fire. Only one major cultural misunderstanding. Honestly, I think we're off to a better start than I expected. He's curious, proud, and surprisingly thoughtful. If we keep this up, he might become more than just a symbol of peace. He might become a friend. Zeta Station 3 floated quietly in orbit above a gas giant, surrounded by thousands of blinking lights and ships from dozens of worlds. The massive space station was famous for one thing: peace talks and galactic diplomacy. It had no weapons, only guards, and a strong system of laws followed by every known species. But this week was different. The Galactic Games of Honor had begun. The games were ancient. A peaceful way for old enemies to compete in trials of skill, thought, and teamwork. They were not battles. No one was allowed to harm another, but they were still intense. Winners earned respect. Losers often learned important lessons. Every 2 years. The games were hosted for diplomacy between worlds that had long histories of war. This time, the Human Alliance and the Ilvari Empire were the focus. Each group was asked to send 2 representatives. But this time, something special happened. The humans and the Ilvari decided to send a joint team. Captain Myra, Tane, and Commander Archon were chosen. The galaxy watched with interest. A rocky start in the first day of the games. Khan stood at the entrance of a large arena. Around them stood teams from many worlds, insect-like Zaltar, the smooth-skinned Myrians, the tall, blue-hooded Dren, and more. Each team wore uniforms with their symbols. Mira wore the blue and silver of Earth Command. Khan still wore his dark red armor, cleaned and polished. Their team patch had both the human flag and the Ilvari flame symbol joined together in a circle of stars. Are you ready? Mira asked, adjusting her wrist scanner. I do not fully understand these games, Archon said, frowning. They are not combat, and yet they test us like warriors. Mira smiled. Yes, but here, brains are just as important as muscle. Archon tilted his head. That worries me. They both laughed. The first trial, gravity puzzles, the IVET event took place in a giant chamber filled with floating platforms. The goal was simple. Move glowing energy spheres from one side to the other without touching the floor, which changed gravity every few minutes. Archon tried jumping from one platform to the next, using strength and speed, but he fell often when the gravity shifted. Mira, on the other hand, studied the pattern and moved only when it was safe. Slow down, she called. Use the rhythm. I prefer challenges with blades, Archon growled. Still, he began to watch her. Slowly, he matched her pace. Together, they carried the last sphere to the end, placing it gently on the glowing stand. They didn't come in first place, but they were not last. More importantly, they were learning to work together. The second trial. The mirror room, the second event, was a room filled with mirrors and light beams. The teams had to bend the beams using mirrors, reflectors, and logic, until they lit a central crystal. Archon stared at the mirrors like they were strange weapons. I do not understand this magic. It's not magic, Mira said, moving mirrors quickly. It's physics. Light bounces. Archon scratched his head. Your science is complicated. But it follows rules, Mira replied, placing a final mirror. The crystal lit up, shining bright blue. They finished second this time, as they left the room. A group of insect-like Zaltar warriors passed by and clicked their claws in a respectful way. They are impressed, Archon asked. Yes. They didn't expect us to work well together, Mira said. But we are surprising them. The third trial. The Tower of Speech. This trial was different. No machines. No puzzles, just words. Each team had to give a short speech to the Galactic Council members explaining why peace between their worlds mattered. Archon looked nervous. I am not made for speeches. You just have to speak from your heart, Mira said gently. When it was their turn, Mira spoke. First, we humans have fought many wars, but we also learn from them. We don't believe strength means always winning. Sometimes strength means reaching out. Then Archon stepped forward. I am Archon of the Fifth Flame, he said, voice strong and clear. I once believed that power meant victory. Mercy was weakness. But I fought a human who did not use strength to defeat me. She used her mind, and she spared me. He paused. Now I follow her not because she beat me, but because she showed me a new path. If peace is strength, then I choose it. The chamber was quiet. Then the audience clapped. Even the serious Dren counselor raised a hand in approval after the events that night. Mira and Archon walked along the glass halls of Zeta Station. Stars blinked outside the windows. Archon held a small badge in his hand, a silver medal for teamwork. Why do these games matter so much? He asked. Because actions speak louder than treaties, Mira replied. When people see us working together, it gives them hope. I still do not understand all human ways, he said honestly. But I see now. You are not weak. You are just different. And you're not just muscle and armor, Mira said with a smile. You have honor and heart. They both stopped and looked out at the stars. There is something I must say, Archon said after a pause. Mira turned to him. When I said I would warm your bed, I now understand the mistake. But if I had to offer something again, he looked serious. I would offer my trust and my friendship. Mira's smile grew wider. Now that's the best kind of offer. Back at the council chambers, far away, in a dark meeting room, a group of alien figures watched the recordings from the games. One of them, a shadowy figure with glowing green eyes, whispered, They grow too close. Peace is spreading too fast. Another voice hissed, Shall we prepare the plan? The first figure nodded. Yes, let them enjoy their games. Soon, they will face something far greater. But for now, Mira and Archon stood side by side, two unlikely partners whose bond had grown stronger through challenge and understanding, and somewhere, deep in the heart of the galaxy, hope burned a little brighter. The Galactic Games of Honor had ended. Myra and Archon, the unexpected team of human and Ilvari, had returned to their ship, Harmony's Edge. With medals and respect for many species, the station was now calm, and peace talks were scheduled to begin in just 2 days. But something was wrong. Mira felt it in her bones. Unseen signals late one night. Mira sat alone in the command room, looking at the stars outside. She read through communication logs, checking messages from nearby ships. Something didn't sit right. There were unusual signals, short bursts of encrypted data that didn't match any known alliance code. She called for VEX9. VEX. Do. You see this pattern? She asked. The tall android leaned over her shoulder. Yes, Captain. It appears to be a masked Ilvari. Military code. But it is older, not standard. Could it be a mistake? Unlikely. Someone is trying to hide there. Message. And doing a poor job of it. Mira frowned, and someone doesn't want us to know they're here. She stood up and tapped her communicator. Rykon, meet me in the war room. Quietly. The visitor from the shadows, when Rykon arrived, his face was serious. Mira showed him the signal. This is Ilvari, isn't it? Rykon looked closer, then slowly nodded. Yes, but this is not from our current military. This is from the Dark Flame. Mira blinked. What's the Dark Flame? He took a breath. A secret group from long ago. Warriors who did not accept peace. They believed only in endless strength and conquest. Our empire said they were gone, destroyed. And you think they're here? I do not know. But this code proves someone from the old ways is still alive. Mira narrowed her eyes. Then we can't let the peace talks start without knowing what they're planning. The hidden threat the next day, Mira and Archon dressed in civilian clothing and took a transport pod down to the lower decks of Zeta Station. These were areas not meant for diplomats. Dark tunnels, storage units, and service chambers where engineers and travelers worked in silence. They were looking for the source of the signal. Mira held a small device that beeped quietly when it detected the strange energy. There, she whispered, pointing to an old metal door. Archon pushed it open gently. The room inside was filled with old cargo crates and a strange humming sound. In the corner, a machine blinked with green lights suddenly. They heard footsteps. They quickly hid behind crates. 2 figures entered. One was tall and wore a long black cloak with a flame symbol that looked twisted. The humans and the Ilvari stand together, the cloaked figure said. But soon they will fall together. We have placed the device in the station's core. When the talks begin, the explosion will destroy everyone. Mira's heart pounded. Arcanessa's fists tightened. This must be stopped, he whispered. Mira nodded. Let's follow them, quietly. Dangerous chase, the 2 spies followed the cloaked figures through the narrow back halls of the station. It wasn't easy. The paths twisted and turned and lights flickered. Suddenly, a metal bar snapped under Mira's foot. The cloaked figures turned. Who's there? Mira. And Archon ran. Blaster shots echoed behind them. Sparks flew from the walls. They ran through a maintenance tunnel and finally ducked into a control room, locking the door behind them. They're planning to blow up the council, Mira gasped. We have to stop it. Khan looked at the control screens. Need to find where they placed the device. Mira tapped her communicator. Vex, we need your help. Patch into the station's main systems and find any strange energy sources near the central power core. VEXS.com. Voice replied, understood. Scanning now. I have found one. There is a high-energy device hidden near the gravity stabilizers. I believe it is a bomb. Mira looked at Archon. We have to get there now. Into the heart of the station, Mira and Archon moved fast through the underhalls of the station. Vex guided them through with voice directions. Finally, they reached the power core, a giant glowing structure of spinning rings and humming plasma. There, hidden between 2 giant coils, was the device. It was dark gray, with blinking red lights. Archon stepped forward carefully. I recognize this design. Old Ilvari tech, but dangerous. If we cut the wrong wire, it's over, Mira finished. She opened her toolkit and knelt beside it. I'll disarm. You watch the door. Archon nodded and stood guard. As Mira worked, sweat rolled down her temple. The timer on the device was counting down. 4 minutes. She slowly cut one wire, then another. Suddenly, Archon shouted, incoming. The cloaked figures returned with weapons. Archon leapt forward, fighting them hand to hand, blocking attacks with his armored arms. Mira focused. 1 wire left. She took a breath and cut it. The timer stopped at 0:12. The room fell silent. The device powered down. Archon pushed the last attacker to the ground. It is done. Mira stood up, holding the tool in her hand. It's done. Peace, not war. The cloaked attackers were arrested. The council was shocked and grateful. During the peace talks the next day, the council announced the bravery of Captain Mira Tane and Commander Archon. The Dren counselor stood and said, "It was not just strength that stopped the destruction. It was the unity of two who were once enemies." Archon looked at Mira. She smiled and whispered, "We make a good team." He nodded. "Better than I ever imagined." A quiet night that night, back aboard Harmony's Edge, Mira stood on the observation deck. Archon joined her. "The dark flame failed," he said. Double quotes, "Yes, but there may be more like them." He nodded. "We will face them together." They stood in silence, looking at the stars. The galaxy was still full of danger, but it was also full of hope. And for now, the flame of peace still burned. The stars sparkled above the calm space station. Zeta Station 3 had returned to peace. Repairs were being made, and the Galactic Council had resumed their discussions. The attempted bombing had shaken everyone, but it had also brought something. Powerful unity. Captain Mira Tane and Commander Archon had become symbols of that unity. Together, they had not only competed in the Galactic Games, but also stopped a disaster. Many now saw their partnership as a sign of what the galaxy could become, a future built not on fear, but on trust. But for Mira and Archon, things were not finished yet. A new assignment one morning, Mira stood at the viewing deck aboard Harmony's Edge. Her coffee steamed gently as she looked out at the peaceful stars. The door behind her slid open. "Captain," said a voice. It was Archon. She turned and smiled. "Morning," he nodded. "We have received a message from High Command." Mira raised an eyebrow. "What kind of message? A mission?" Archon said. He handed her a small HOLO pad. Mira read the screen. "They want us to lead a peace envoy to the edge of the Orion expanse. That's wild sector space, unexplored, untouched. They believe a lost colony of humans may exist there," Archon added. "And some Ilvari scouts reported signs of dark flame movement in the same area." Mira folded her arms. "It's not just a peace mission, it's a search, maybe a warning." Archon gave a slow nod. "We are to investigate, together." Mira looked up. "Then let's prepare.
Yes.
This time, we might not be returning so soon." Into the unknown harmonies. Edge jumped into hyperspace 2 days later. The crew was small: Mira Khan, VEX-9, and a few engineers and medical staff. The journey would take several weeks. During the flight, Mira and Archon spent time in the training room, the control center, and even the dining area. They had grown used to each other now, not just as allies, but as real friends. One evening, while sitting near the star view panels, Archon spoke softly. "You have changed how I see the galaxy," he said. Mira looked over. "How so?" "I once believed only strength mattered, but strength without purpose, without compassion, is empty." Mira smiled. "And I once believed the Ilvari could never change. But here you are." They both laughed gently. Vex-9 walked in, carrying a datapad. "Captain, we are nearing the last known signal from the lost human colony." The silent planet. The ship dropped out of hyperspace near a small planet with a single moon. The world was covered in deep green forests, shining rivers, and tall mountains. It looked untouched by war. "Atmosphere is breathable," Vex-9 reported. "No modern signals. But life forms are present." Mira and Archon geared up and took a shuttle down to the surface. They landed in a wide clearing. Birds flew overhead. Strange trees moved gently in the wind. Suddenly, a group of people appeared from the trees, humans, but different. Clothes were simple, and they carried tools made from metal and wood. One man stepped forward. "You are from the stars," said in quiet awe. Mira stepped down. "Yes, we came looking for survivors. We're from Earth." The man smiled. "Earth is a dream from long ago. My name is Solon. We have waited a long time." A warning in the forest for 2 days. Mira and Archon stayed with the villagers. They learned about the people's history, a colony ship that crashed hundreds of years ago. It's cut off from the galaxy. But on the third night, Solon approached their camp in a hurry. There are shadows in the forest, he said. Metal shadows. They watch from far away. We thought they were spirits, but they are not. Mira stood quickly. That sounds like recon units. Dark flame scouts, Archon added. Must act now. The next morning, Mira and Archon followed Solon through the woods. They climbed hills and crossed rivers until they reached a cliffside. Below, in a hidden valley, a small base had been built. It was clearly Ilvari technology, but old and marked with the dark flame insignia. There, Archon said. Plan something here. Mira lifted her binoculars. I see weapons, ships, supplies. They're preparing for war. Archon's voice grew cold. They want to destroy both human and Ilvari peace. They will strike again. Mira looked at him. Then we have to stop them like before. Together. The final stand that night, Mira, Arcan, and Vex 9 prepared a plan. They had few weapons, but the element of surprise was on their side. As dawn broke, the three of them moved silently through the trees. Mira took out a power disruptor. Arcan carried a heavy staff and energy blade. Vex 9 brought EMP charges. They reached the edge of the base. 3 minutes. Mira whispered. Archon nodded. They moved fast, disabling the security gates, cutting power lines, and planting charges near the fuel depot. An alarm rang. Dark flame warriors stormed out, cloaked in black armor. Eyes glowing red, Archeon charged forward, blocking attacks and drawing their fire. Mira moved through the shadows, disabling systems and freeing 2 captured villagers. Vex 9 fought with perfect precision, shielding Mira when needed. At the center of the base stood a large command ship. The leader of the Dark Flame stood before it, a tall figure with a scarred mask. You betray your own kind, Archon, the figure said. I follow a new path, Archon replied. They clashed, weapon to weapon. The fight was long and fierce. But together, Mira and Archon brought the figure down. The base began to explode from within. They ran, jumping through fire and smoke, and barely escaped as the valley lit up in flames behind them. A new flame back on the colony. The villagers watched the sky glow orange from the distant fire. You have saved us, Solon said. Mira shook her head. We only did what was right. Later, as the sun set, Mira and Archon sat on a cliff. Looking at the stars, the dark flame is not finished, Archon said. But they are weaker now. We'll keep fighting, Mira said. With truth, with peace, with strength. That protects. Archon looked at her. You once spared me. Now, I stand beside you as an equal. You always had it in you, Mira said. You just needed someone to believe. They watched as the stars blinked overhead. Epilogue. A message to the galaxy weeks later. Transmission was sent from Harmony's edge to all known worlds. It was a message of unity. Speech from Mira and Archon. We come from different worlds, Mira said, but we found common ground in the middle of war. We are not enemies, Archon added. We are something better, allies, friends. The galaxy listened, and slowly from world to world peace grew, not because of grand armies, but because 2 souls chose to trust each other